and post this to Telegram groups. And reason being is I'm moving town, staying in Mississippi, but moving from Hattiesburg to Brandon. So I've been working on the move, been very, very busy, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this live stream. Haven't done this live stream in a while. So just hang on 1 second and get this posted to the Telegram groups. I know it's late in South Africa. It's almost 1 a.m. Telegram groups. I know it's late in South Africa. So there you guys. Sorry about that, but yeah. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope everybody's doing well. I know I haven't been here in a while. Hopefully when I get moved, that will change. Just hang on 1 second. Okay, and hang on 1 second. One second. All right. Okay. Go ahead and start what I wanted to talk about. All right. Malawian Airlines, Malawi's main airline that's mostly owned. Well, it's about 51% private owned, and it has, Cameron Heslop says, hey, what's up, Brett? Hey, Cameron, how are you? Glad you could join me. And, okay, Malawian Airlines has two main shareholders. That's Ethiopian Airlines, who has 49% of the shares, and the other 51% belong to the Malawian government. Well, Malawian Airlines is facing liquidation, mainly due to the COVID-19, but it had problems before the COVID-19 as well. Well, Malawian Airlines is facing liquidation, and the reason it's facing liquidation, and it has had just in February of this year, their losses in 2020 totaled 17 million $860,000 US. And in addition to their losses, they have already had $17,540,000 in debt. So they're going to go out of business and face liquidation unless Ethiopian Airlines and the Malawian government pour in major capital to Malawian Airlines. So that's one of the latest news out of Malawi. Now, Malawi is also facing the COVID-19 problem, as many countries are. Well, Malawi got their vaccines through the COVAX program, and the COVAX distributed the AstraZeneca vaccine, which I thought was an error for somewhere like Malawi, because Malawi is right on the border with Zimbabwe and South Africa, and the South African strain is prevalent in Malawi, okay? South African strain's prevalent in Malawi at the moment, but they're using the AstraZeneca vaccine. Also, Malawi has resumed schooling, but a lot of the teachers are on strike right now because the Lazarus Chakwera government had promised these teachers that they were going to get hazardous duty pay because they were braving the COVID-19 with the schools reopening. But now they're not getting their pay, so the teachers are going on strike. Now, the Chakwera government does not have a lot of money. They may not have the money to do that at the moment, but the teachers are saying it's too risky to go teach a class and not have their bonus pay. So that's just a mess right now. So please keep the African nation of Malawi in your prayers. Much appreciated. Now, go over to Mozambique. Right now, it is a mess in Mozambique. At least 1 million people now have been displaced, and about the same amount of people that have been displaced from Cabo Delgado. Many of them now have fled to Pemba, which is another provincial capital. A lot of them got on the boats, but a lot of them are facing hunger right now due to an ISIS-backed group called Al-Shabaab. That's different than Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Al-Shabaab in Somalia is affiliated with Al-Qaeda, not ISIS. Well, fortunately, the Mozambican military is regaining some ground that they lost to Al-Shabaab. That's the good news. The bad news is when the Mozambican military went into a hotel that they recently took over from Al-Shabaab, they found 14 foreigners, 14 expatriates beheaded. And, it was just a sad, sick situation. And that has recently been reported as well with what is going on in Mozambique. Now, as far as South Africa goes, because I've been so busy, what I did follow is Chris White did an amazing video on Neil McKay, who was a farmer, a wheelchair-bound farmer that was tortured and killed in his farm in KwaZulu-Natal, which is a sick, sadistic situation. And then you have people like the economic freedom fighters and Becky Sele, the Minister of Police, saying that farm murders are not race-based and farm murders aren't a problem, and they refuse to tackle the situation. The EFF also says a lot of the farm murders are linked to Jan van Riebeck starting a refreshment station on April 6th, 1652. Yeah, Cameron Heslop says, beheadings are so disgusting. Nobody deserves to die like that. Agreed. And this ISIS group, Al-Shabaab, ISIS-linked group, is just as bad as the ISIS that's fighting in Syria. They use the same torture tactics, the same beheading tactics, and it's just a sad, sick situation. And where they're fighting in Cabo Delgado in northern Mozambique, there's a lot of oil-rich areas right there, so the world needs to pay attention with what's going on in Cabo Delgado, Mozambique, in my personal opinion. And like I said, in my personal opinion. She's got a drink of water. She's got a drink of water right there. But with Neil McKay being tortured, he's a wheelchair-bound farmer. And the reason, according to Chris White's video, that he was wheelchair-bound is because about 10, 15 years ago, he was attacked on his farm again because he was a white farmer. And he survived that attack, but he was also left paralyzed. I'm not saying and he wasn't saying the EFF is actually doing these farm murders. No, he's not saying that at all, but saying that Jan van Riebeck's arrival it links to the farm murders, or the reason that farm murders are a problem in South Africa is problematic. And that just shows the EFF's character right there, always blaming white people, which the EFF basically does. I firmly believe. So yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that. So, all right. Now, if you guys see the flash right here, yeah, I got the TV close up to me. I'm watching the Baltimore Orioles as well as the Seattle Mariners doing this live stream. They're playing each other. The Mariners, it's a doubleheader because it got rained out last night, and the Mariners won their first game 4-3. But the Orioles came back. They were down 3-0, almost pulled it off, but couldn't quite do it. But back to the news, what I wanted to discuss. Yeah, he survived. Poor guy surviving 2 farm attacks. Blaming white people tactic is growing thin. Yeah, I mean it's growing thin, and it's not, it's not a credible criticism. And the majority of South Africans, black and white, are sick of it. They want to have solutions to their own, where they want to be able to have a good, stable job. They want to be able to feed their families. They want to be able to live in a safe environment for their families. But the only way I firmly believe that'll be able to fix is, 1, EFF supporters need to abandon the EFF. And then 2, people need to quit voting the ANC into South African politics. I just think that's the only way that is going to change, to be honest with you, is if the ANC gets voted out and the DA needs to approach COPE, the ACDP, the African Christian Democratic Party. And they need to approach COPE. They need to approach, I'm trying to think, COPE, African ACDP. I don't know how much good it would do, honestly, approaching the FF Plus. The FF Plus probably wouldn't do it. But they need to approach the Inkatha Freedom Party as well. And they need to go into coalition together against the ANC. And I think that's the only way that South Africa is firmly going to change, to be honest with you. I mean, I firmly believe that, to be honest with you. I just really do. Okay. Latest news also is that India has surpassed Brazil as the second highest amount of COVID-19 cases. And because now India is way more developed than it used to be, but India may not be, well, in some places it's third world, some places in the country it's second world, but right now there are almost 14 million confirmed COVID-19 cases in India, and that's what we know about, but the stats could be as high as 400 million that we just don't know about. And right now there is a pilgrimage, a specific Hindu pilgrimage that's going on where many people go to the northern state for pilgrimage, and they're going to confess and wash away their sins. I believe it's the northern state of Haridwar, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of them are going and they're traveling in crowds. It's the largest religious pilgrimage in the world, even larger than what goes on in Mecca, Saudi Arabia for Islam. And that is just going to, the COVID-19 cases are going to spike then. So even though I'm a Christian, not Hindu, I'm praying for these pilgrims and praying that they do not get the COVID-19, because it is just going to spread like wildfire if this goes on. There are certain areas in Maharashtra, which is the Indian state where Mumbai is located. And Mumbai is not the capital of India, but it is India's financial capital. It's where the Indian Stock Exchange is centered, and it's the largest city in India. Well, Maharashtra is one of the states where the majority of the increased COVID-19 cases are taking place. And Maharashtra has closed a lot of religious buildings, Hindu temples, Muslim mosques, and Christian churches. They have kept, in Maharashtra and a lot of places, particularly Mumbai, restaurants are only allowed to serve takeout, because they're doing that to try to stop the curve of the COVID-19. Also, there's this hospital in New Delhi. Now, New Delhi is the capital of India, and there was a specific hospital, and this hospital has over 1,000 doctors, but the doctors have been vaccinated, but there were 35 doctors who caught the COVID-19 after being vaccinated. Now, the doctors don't have a serious case, but some of them went into the hospital to be admitted because they didn't want to risk giving COVID-19 to their relatives, and then some are isolating at the home. I'm assuming the single doctors are the ones that are isolating at the home. So yeah, right now it's just a mess in India, and just keep India in your prayers. India is a staunch U.S. ally, particularly against the war on terror. India is one of the most pro-American countries out there, and I know many South Africans have ties to India because South Africa has a large Indian population, particularly in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, and a lot of Indians in South Africa do have ties to their ancestral country of India. When India plays cricket's their most popular sport. When India plays South Africa in cricket in Durban, many Indian players on India's team say it feels like a home game for India, because about 80% of the crowd, 70 to 80% of the crowd cheers for India. Amongst Indian South Africans, from what they've told me, about 80% of Indian South Africans cheer for India in cricket, and about 20% of them cheer for South Africa, as far as I know. So that's that. That's that when it comes to that's what I got when it comes to South Africa on the news. Now, all right, going to talk about what is going on in the United States a little bit. Okay, Major League Baseball did something so politically correct, and I'm a baseball fan, but this was stupid what they did. They had the All-Star game that was set to be in Atlanta, Georgia, actually in Cobb County, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. But the state of Georgia had a voter law, which I supported. And all it's basically doing is meant to curb voter fraud, where you have to show an ID. Cameron Heslop says that is true. Indian South Africans cheer for India. I can confirm that. That's what I've been told too. So, you have to show an ID to vote. And look, you have to show an ID to purchase a gun. You have to show an ID to buy tobacco products. You have to show an ID to buy alcohol. A lot of clubs, you have to show an ID to get into there. And in Major League Baseball, if you have to show an ID to the ticket taker. For somebody to scan your tickets, you got to show them an ID to show them that you're the person that purchased that specific ticket. So this voter law, there's nothing racist about it. All you got to do is go and show a picture ID to the polling station to confirm that you're a resident of the state that you're voting in, and that you're a resident of the district that you're voting in. Well, a lot of people on the liberal left have lost their mind over this law for whatever reason. And I'm normally not a conspiracy theorist. I was not even sure how much voter fraud was in these elections. I still don't know. But what I am saying is, if there wasn't voter fraud in this last election, why is there such a fuss over this Georgia law? This Georgia law is really no big deal, to be honest with you. Well, the Major League Baseball got upset with the state of Georgia, and they moved the All-Star game from from outside of Atlanta, Georgia, to Denver, Colorado. The city of Atlanta, which is 75% African American, that's where the tourists were going to go when they weren't at the All-Star game. They're losing $100 million in tourism revenue because of this. A lot of blacks in Atlanta are not, African Americans are not happy about this because many of the concession workers, many of the ticket takers, many of the stadium workers in there are African American, and they're going to lose overtime pay. They're going to lose a lot of extra bonus pays for not being able to work the All-Star game. Also, a lot of people working in these hotels are a lot of bellhops and stuff are not gonna get the tips that they thought they were gonna get All-Star weekend. And it's just a mess. And a lot of times, if you're a bellhop or if you're a waiter or a waitress, you don't get a base salary, or your salary is like $2 or $3 US per hour. So you live off your tips, basically. Well, a lot of them are not going to get the tips that they expected to get come All-Star weekend because the All-Star game has moved from Atlanta to Denver, and Denver is a 70 to 75% Caucasian city, whereas Atlanta is a 75% African-American city. So this is just outright ridiculous on the part of Major League Baseball for doing this. And there's nothing wrong with this Georgia law. There's nothing racist about it. All it's designed for, you're right, Cameron, when you said in your comment, ID prevents ticket scalping. Yes, and ID also prevents voter fraud. It's just a ridiculous thing that Major League Baseball has done. Now, here's another thing that's been ridiculous that's happened in the United States. And like I said, I do believe Black Lives Matter, but I do believe Black Lives Matter at all times. And Black lives don't just matter when somebody from another race or when a policeman kills an African American. Most of the black victims in the United States have been victims of black on black crime, a lot of times getting caught in gang crossfires, or over an argument that turns into murder. That's typically where a lot of black crime victims are, to be honest with you. That's what happens. Well, so the Black Lives Matter movement doesn't address that. Well, I don't support them. Well, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, this has been all over the news. She bought a $1.4 million home in Hollywood Hill, or in LA Hills. And this area, now, before I go any further, yes, the housing market in California is very, very expensive. So this house is very nice, but it's not a mansion, but it's still a very nice house in a neighborhood that's only 1.2% African American. And it's a very nice house. And she's bought, a lot of Black Lives Matter activists have bought, like, over the past 2 to 3 years, 4 or 5 different houses. And these are nice houses. Okay? When you donate to a political action group like that, like Black Lives Matter, that money's not supposed to go for leaders to use for their own personal use. It's supposed to go through the organization. Okay? You know, this person's saying Black Lives Matter, but then they're going to live in an area that's only 1.2% African American. That just does not make any sense, and it's very, very hypocritical. And some African Americans on Twitter have called the lady out. Some have defended her, but some have called her out, saying they feel betrayed. They feel like they've been punched in the face because of that. Yeah, and Cameron Heslop says he's heard about the BLM activist buying that house. Yeah, she did. And yeah, I'm gonna pop up the article for this. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the whole news has reported it, and it's just, yeah, her name is Patrice Khan Colors, and yeah, the New York Post did an article on this. Several other media news outlets did as well. As protests broke our country in the name of Black Lives Matter, the group's co-founder, this is what the New York Post says, went on a real estate buying binge, snagging 4 high-end homes for $3.2 million in the U.S. alone. Patrice Khan Colors, she's 37 years old, also eyed property in the Bahamas at an ultra-exclusive resort where Justin Timberlake and Tiger Woods both have homes. The Post has learned luxury apartments and townhouses at the beachfront Albany Resort outside Nassau. Nassau is the capital of the Bahamas. Are priced between $5 million US dollars and $20 million US dollars, according to a local agent. And she says she's a Marxist, okay? But that's not surprising because in all Marxist and communist countries, you have the top 0.01% that take all the money. So not surprising. And then they're the ones that live luxuriously while their other people starve. That's typical in communist and Marxist countries. The self-described Marxist last month purchased a $1.4 million home on a secluded road, a short drive from Malibu in Los Angeles. Now that is news to me. Yeah, wow, squandering BLM money. You're right, Cameron. It is. The self-described Marxist purchased a $1.4 million home on a secluded road, a short drive from Malibu in Los Angeles, according to a report. Now, it is a 2,370 square foot property, features soaring ceilings, skylights, and plenty of windows. Some fellow activists were taken aback by the real estate revelations. Here we go. Hawk Newsom, the head of Black Lives Matter Greater New York City, which is not affiliated with the Colors Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, called for an independent investigation to find out how the global network spends its money. And I agree with Hawk Newsom on this. I mean, there are a lot of people, and I'm not saying because I didn't donate to them because I had a bad feeling about this group and my gut instinct proved right. But a lot of people, black, white, Hispanic, a lot of churches, a lot of ministers donated to this group, particularly after the George Floyd situation. Well, they donated to this group. A lot of them donated a good bit of money, and then this is what the leaders have done. My gut instinct proved to be right. I had a bad feeling about this group, and glad I didn't donate. And the news shows why. Now, recently, there has been another police shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, same area as George Floyd. And I know the whole story. I'm not good. It's been very busy, so I'm not good with names. But the guy's name was Dante Wright. Now, Dante Wright had some minor warrants out for him because he had driven with expired tags, expired license plates, which is a minor thing, but he had warrants out for him. He also had an air freshener on his car window, and I think that shouldn't be illegal. It doesn't bother me. I don't think it obstructs people's views. It's a stupid law in Minnesota, but nevertheless, it is the law, and that's why the cops pulled him over, for those two reasons. And they ordered him to get out of the car, and this lady and also the rookie that seemed to be her trainee, both of them did a lot of things that were not necessarily good officer procedure, but a lot of people aren't fit to be police officers. Some studies show 80% of the world's population is not being a police officer. It's a hard, tough, stressful job, and if you want to be good at that job, there's a lot of things you have to do in a proper way. You have to function at high speed. It's a lot of multitasking. I'm not bashing these two people at all. And particularly now because there's such a shortage of police officers, because a lot of people are scared that they're not going to be allowed to do their job because it seems like the attorneys, the media, the press, political activists are always out to get them. So I'm not bashing anybody. So, but when the officers took this guy out of the car, he was cooperative at first, but they didn't put him far away enough from the driver's seat. Well, he runs back into the driver's seat and tries to take off, okay? Uncooperative. And the officer is yelling, stop, stop, stop. And she thought she pulled a taser out, but she pulled her gun out. And you could hear in the tape her yelling, taser, taser. But then she shot him. And you could hear on the tape, and this is what she said, oh shit, I shot him. She thought it was an honest mistake. Now, I don't think the woman should be charged with a crime because she thought she pulled her taser out. And under Minnesota law, there's nothing that says she can be charged with a crime in that situation. But protesters are now walking the streets again, demanding this, demanding that. Now some civil rights attorneys are demanding that police officers not be able to carry tasers because they're worried they're going to mistake the taser for the gun. This is the first time that's ever happened as far as I know, and police officers have been carrying tasers for years. The taser very rarely results in death or serious injury from the suspect, and it keeps the officer safe, and the suspect does not have any, or the offender doesn't have any further injuries usually. I mean, it was a bad mistake, and I really think the police department needs to fire this lady, and the lady shouldn't be a police officer ever again. And judging by the footage, neither should the rookie. When he took the guy out of the car, he didn't put him far away enough from the driver's side door. And that's another thing that should have, both of them probably shouldn't be police officers ever again, but we all make mistakes, so I don't want to go there. I can be absent-minded at times, but I don't think they should be charged with a crime in this situation. And if officers are not going to be allowed to carry tasers, then there's going to be more of a nationwide shortage of police officers than there already is. And 81% of African Americans do not support the defund the police movement because it has been proven that police officer presence reduces crime. And if we have any more of this defund the police or shortage of police officers, crime is going to spike around the country. I mean, it is. I mean, the guy was not a saint. He had warrants out for him because he wouldn't update his license plates. And it's against Minnesota law to have an air freshener on your window. Now, it's a ridiculous law. But the police officers, if they're a police officer of the state, they have a legal obligation to enforce the law no matter how ridiculous or how stupid of a law it is. And it is a stupid law. I agree with that. So that's what's been going down in America. And honestly, between the move and between those stories in the United States, I've been following some African countries, but it's been limited to pretty much Mozambique, and it's pretty much been limited also to Malawi with the situations they have going on there. Other than the Neil McKay farm murder that Chris White talked about, I haven't been able to follow much about South Africa. Now, Tanzania, which is some good news here, Samia Suluhu Hassan, the current president of Tanzania, she recently had replaced the late John Magufuli as president of Tanzania. She has allowed media licenses to opposition-led media license. What does Minnesota say about GPS? I don't know. I don't live in Minnesota. I live in Mississippi. I am not sure what they say about a GPS on your windshield. I really don't know, Cameron. I just really don't know. Samia Suluhu Hassan has granted media licenses back to opposition-friendly networks. John Magufuli had ruled with an iron fist and did not grant those people media licenses. But she's granted a media license, and she has not covered up COVID-19 deaths as much. She has recognized that Tanzania has a COVID-19 problem, and she's trying to get vaccines into Tanzania. Now, the opposition remains unconvinced. It's going to take a while. As much of a fist as John Magufuli ruled Tanzania with, she's going to have to do this over an extended period of time for the opposition to be able to trust her more than they did her predecessor. That's just the reality of it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's just what's going to have to happen. So I've been following the Tanzania situation as well. Following Tanzania, following Mozambique, but I followed some situations in Liberia, and this is a sad situation. There was this Christian school, and this happened today actually in Liberia. It's a Christian school, and they did most of their classes on computer. That's why they call it a cyber ed Christian school. Well, one of the students came in today, and one of the students shot a female student, shot and killed her. Student-on-student violence. The student that was killed is the daughter of Dr. Ireland. It didn't say who Dr. Ireland was. All the Liberian Observer said that this is typically is what's going on, and that's a sad situation. In Liberia, as much as I want to go over there, and as much as the U.S. has ties to Liberia and has a special relationship with them, Liberia is not the safest place, and it hasn't been for a very, very long time. So it's just a sad situation that a student of the school comes in there and kills another student, and it's basically student-on-student violence that had happened in Liberia, and it's just a sad situation. So please keep those students in your prayers. It's just a sad situation for Dr. Ireland to be growing up without his daughter like this. It's just for anybody. That's just it's a sad situation. So that has been the recent news out of Liberia. Now, South Korea, they have developed their own fighter. It's actually, well, kind of. It's been in partnership with Indonesia, and they've developed the KF-21 stealth fighter, and it's cheaper and less stealthy than the U.S. F-35, but the president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, wants to go towards a more independent route of defense, and that's kind of what Donald Trump wanted for South Korea. I have mixed feelings about this overall. I don't like it, but nevertheless, it's a good achievement for them to be building this fighter. And they were in partnership with Indonesia. And actually, where a lot of this has been built is in Sachin, which is outside of Jeonju, very close to Jeonju. I used to live in Jeonju. And in Sachin is where it was, actually. In Sachin. And the President Moon Jae-in was there for the unveiling of that fighter. Here's some news from South Africa. Municipalities are getting a 2.8% increase. I believe they don't deserve this increase. I can guarantee you that people will strike because they won't. More, yeah. I mean, and it's not the money designated to the municipalities is going to go to the ANC cronies. It always does. And the money in South Africa never goes to where it needs to go. And then the ANC government has also issued tax increases for the 6% of tax. Only 6% of South Africa's population pays taxes, by the way. And they're going to issue a tax increase to that 6% of the population. Well, a lot of the 6% of the population are business owners, either small business owners or major corporations, but they can't afford these tax hikes because the COVID-19 lockdown has kept a lot of these people where they haven't been able to make profits. And so the tax increase that's been recently issued by the African National Congress has been outright ridiculous. And it was just couldn't come at a worse time. It couldn't come at a worse time for it. So yeah, also the latest news out of South Korea, the COVID-19 is becoming more of a problem over there. They have 1,758 total COVID-19 deaths, and they also have over 107,000 total COVID-19 cases. And the reason that they do, they were actually doing well, not going on lockdown, but then doing social distancing, wearing a mask, always having hand sanitizers everywhere. And it was a good model, and the world liked it and respected it. But when in springtime, a lot of South Koreans decided to start traveling domestically, and the vaccine has been given a slow rollout there. But when you travel domestically and you're in a hotel, and you're the hotel, most hotels, unless things have changed, they have shared air, and all it would take is for 2 or 3 guests to be infected with the COVID-19, and it's hard for people to sleep with a mask on, and they're coughing, and those particles go through the air. It's been undetermined if that's caused it or not, but what we do know is when the traveling domestically started, that's when the COVID-19 cases started increasing. We do know that. So, that's the latest news. That's the latest news out of South Korea. So, all right. Well, I've been about 30 minutes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys are doing well, and I hope to be able to do another live stream soon. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get around to it because of all that I've got going on. But thank you guys for tuning in, and hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless.